Hi, I'm Holly. I'm the mom.
I'm Sydney, I'm the daughter, and this week we're going to be talking about Our Father. So, in this documentary, they are talking about a doctor. His name is Dr. Donald Klein. He was known in the community as a philanthropist. He was pretty well known. He was an elder in the church. Everybody knew him pretty well and they trusted him. And then he ended up opening a fertility clinic. And so, when it came around to it and people or like parents were discovering that they were having fertility issues, they would go to Dr. Klein. And he was the best of the best.
Well, and he also, was kind of cutting edge for that time period. He really knew what he was doing and it was working.
Yeah. Because he was also doing where he was putting tubes back together for women to be able to get pregnant, which he was kind of the first person to really start doing it and doing it successfully.
And that's really hard because I work for an OBGYN office and we have 7 surgeons on staff, and not one of them will reverse a tubal because it's a very difficult surgery to do, and it doesn't have a high success rate unless it's really your specialty.
Yeah.
And you're really good at it.
Yeah.
And he happened to be one of those people.
Yeah. So it was also stated that in 1963, he hit and killed a young girl. They didn't say about how old, but she was pretty small. And this was kind of the turning point for him to start looking towards religion. And that's when he became such a big part of the church, where he was even holding baptisms in the pool in his backyard.
Right, like the whole church was just coming over and
like
dunking in the
partying.
pool.
Yeah, like I don't want to say partying, but like he basically wanted to he wanted an in with the community so bad, and he was like, my home is open to all.
Right, he definitely immersed himself in this church.
Yes.
And like you said, kind of found that in where he was like, this is what I can offer, so
Yep.
This is how I'm going to make my way into your hearts.
Yep. The documentary shows Jacoba Ballard, and she notices that throughout her entire family, they have the dark hair, they have dark eyes, they have a bit tanner complexions, and she's very fair skinned. She's got blue eyes and she's got blonde hair. And she doesn't have any siblings, so she has really nobody that close to her to compare to. But it was always super confusing to her. So she went ahead and she did a DNA test after, discussing with her mom that she was a baby from IVF, essentially.
The clinic's rule was that there would be no more than 3 children per donor.
Mm-hmm.
So what, moms are told is that these are medical students that are donating their specimens. And, the receptionist even talks about how she would go over midday and then tuck the specimen in between her boobs, like into her bra, so that she could keep it warm so that it would be viable by the time she got it back to the office.
Yeah.
This was she took her job very seriously to make sure these women were going to be able to have their babies.
Yes. Yeah, because so Debbie, Jacoba's mom, was actually, she was told that it was going to be a medical student, but not only that, someone that would look like her husband.
Right.
So that, that the baby would share similar complexions to her husband. It didn't feel, the way Jacoba ended up feeling.
Right.
At 35, Jacoba takes a 23andMe DNA test, and actually the results showed that she had 7 other siblings, which was completely confusing because
that's not supposed to be possible.
No. And, so she was kind of looking into it and she was a bit confused. And so she made contact with the other siblings, and, they were all looking around for possibilities of, is this a mix-up or is this really true? And so they joked about, wouldn't it be crazy if it was the doctor? They actually all matched with a woman named Sylvia. And so they contacted her and they were asking about, maiden names that were in her family lineage. And she sent them like this long list of names. And it was actually Swinford that they found, which was Dr. Klein's mother's maiden name. So that led them to ask Sylvia, do you have anyone by the name of Klein? And she said, oh my gosh, I completely forgot my cousin Dawn. And so that kind of just confirmed it to them of what they were already thinking.
Right. Well, and we've taken DNA tests,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't realize this, but you could get thousands of matches of very distant people that you don't even want to reach out to.
Yeah.
Because they don't know you don't know them, and there's probably 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon in between you.
Yeah, it's literally like 0.01 cousin, and I'm like, okay.
Well, and for us, this Steve's was my maiden name, and it's actually like a big deal in Canada. I can't remember exactly, like, it's over the area of Maine.
So we're royalty.
And no, but there were multiple brothers. I believe there were 5 of them who left. I believe it was Germany, because obviously I'm not as big into this as some of these people are. But
yeah,
there were 5 brothers that left, and they settled in Canada, and they just continue to have huge families. There's actually like a Facebook page for people that have taken this DNA test, and that's how I found out about it. Somebody reached out to me when I took mine, and they're like, hey, you're a new Steve's. Here's how you find out which brother you came from. But yeah, so there's like over 800 people in this Facebook group, and they all live in, I think it's New Brunswick, Canada. Most of them live right in that area. There's a museum that's dedicated to the Steve's name. It's crazy.
After there was a strong assumption of Donald Klein being the father of all of these people, Jacoba went ahead and she actually filed a complaint with the Attorney General's office because, I mean, that's malpractice if it's true.
Right.
Which, I mean, but so nobody was getting back to her from the Attorney General's office, so she started reaching out to news outlets, trying to get anyone to pick up her story so that she could get people to listen. And nobody was listening to her, nobody was replying to her. And then at some point she saw Angela from the Fox 59 news channel, and she was like, that's who I need to send this to. And when she did, Angela picked it right up and she went with it. Angela gets in contact with Donald Klein, and she asks about doing an interview, she asks about doing a DNA test, and he says no to all of it. Well, she ends up putting a story out, but unfortunately, because he has rejected any of her inquiries, she can't use his name in the story. So, here's all these people that...
And he's still in practice.
Yeah, and he's still in practice, and all of these people, they can tell their story, but it's kind of pointless without being able to tell who is at fault here. After Angela published the story, Jacoba actually reached out to Doug and Donna, which were Donald's son and daughter.
That he acknowledged.
That he did acknowledge. He did claim those children with his own wife.
Right.
And they met in a public place just so that, everyone felt safe. And they actually told Jacoba, yeah, he's admitted to us that he is your guys' father.
Well, that's because he knew that eventually the story was going to lead to him.
Yes.
Even though she couldn't use his name, it was only a matter of time before people, I mean, it's, in this age of information, you can't hide.
Yeah. And they are his adult children, by the way. I just want to say they're not kids. They didn't meet up with an 8 and 10-year-old.
Right.
When he admitted to Doug and Donna that these people were his children biologically, he then also told them there would be no more than 10 children, which at this point we're already at 8.
Even though there were supposed to be no more than
3. Yeah.
Well, there were supposed to be 0 from the doctor.
Yes. Yeah. The doctor should have his own children on his own time.
Right.
After they had been told that there would be no more than 10 children, they actually bring us to sibling 14, which her name was Julie Harmon. And she also, noticed that there were differences in her likeness from her family members, basically the same thing as Jacoba. And her husband actually saw Jacoba on TV while they were watching it together. And he said, "Oh my gosh, you look so much like her." Which then, it freaked her out because she had always been under the assumption that she was her dad's child. I mean, a lot of these people were.
Right.
But especially her, because her mother had actually been told that she was using her husband's own specimen.
Right. Her husband brought in his own specimen.
Mm-hmm.
And so this whole time, she thinks that that's what's been inserted.
Yeah.
And he thinks so. Like, they have no reason to believe otherwise. So this is not just a matter of there's no sperm available, there's no, students across the street that can donate. He had his specimen.
Yes.
He had his sample. He chose not to use it and to use his own.
Yes. Which then the question raises of what did he do with that sample? He just throw it in the garbage or
Right.
like, it's just so odd because they thought that that her mom was suffering fertility issues. And so, yeah, like it was so heartbreaking for this family to find out that, because she took a DNA test and of course she comes up and matches all of these people that have already matched prior.
And what's happened to the rest of them is definitely so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this is even worse.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like I said, there was a specimen to use. He chose not to.
Yes.
And there were specimens before as well, but no one was they all thought they were getting donor specimens anyway. They just didn't realize who was the donor.
Yes.
So they were definitely fleeced. But this, to me, is a whole other level where you think that your husband is contributing to your child's DNA, and it was really a fucking doctor.
Yeah.
After they discover Julie being related to the rest of them, they actually arrange a meeting with Dr. Klein. It's only about 5 of them, and they all go to basically just like this little lunch place to meet up with him. And when he walks in, he is using a cane. Obviously, he's got a bad leg, but he's also carrying a holstered gun on his hip, which feels like a threatening tactic.
Right.
Like you're trying to instill fear into these people, and this is your first time meeting them ever.
And they just want answers. They're not here to murder you.
No, they're not here to jump you. They picked a public place.
Right.
As they're all talking, Donald starts to ask each of them their age, their name, their profession, and he's writing all of it down. And I think it was probably in some sort of way to rank them of who's doing the best, at what age are they doing it. Obviously the names he doesn't really give a shit that much about.
Right.
But just kind of trying to feel these people out.
Well, he was basically conducting his own little experiment.
Yeah.
And maybe that was one of the reasons, was to see, where he thought he excelled,
Mm-hmm.
to see if all of his offspring would excel.
Yeah. The siblings started asking him about medical background as far as what they should be concerned about, what their children should be concerned about. And then he just tells them, oh, there's nothing to worry about. You just walked in with a cane on a bum leg. Obviously, there's something to worry about.
Right.
And a lot of these people discover that they have the same issues as each other. They have gastrointestinal issues. They have just general mental disorders that are the same. They take a lot of the same medication. So he's lying because I think for him, he sees himself as the perfect donor.
Right.
Because if you have a bunch of medical issues, you don't qualify.
And they all have these autoimmune disorders, which are definitely hereditary.
Yeah.
And not necessarily, it won't always present the same in every person. So Bubs has, alopecia, which is an autoimmune disorder. And then, there's suspicion that I have either, POTS or Sjogren's, which we've not really been able to narrow it down. Hopefully, with this new doctor, we'll get somewhere. And then Nana has vitiligo, and they're all, in the same type of these disorders,
Yeah.
but they're all very different.
Yeah. During this meeting, Klein actually gave Jacoba a piece of paper that read, it was Jeremiah 1:5, which is, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. Which is just so, considering what's going on, that's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
She even was like, put that shit away. Like, well, don't put that in my face. Because that is so fucking strange.
I get that he's religious and everything, but I don't understand how he reconciles what he did
Yeah.
and also thinking that he's a good Christian to the point where he can preach to her.
Yes. His explanation to everything was just that, he was helping their mothers. He was helping these families, helping people have children.
But medical students could have done that.
Exactly.
I don't think he ever really gave a reason that to me made any sense.
No, definitely not. There was never like oh, okay, I can no. He never had a good fucking reason for any of it.
Right.
At the end of this meeting, he basically told them there would be no more than 15 siblings. We're then presented with sibling number 17. His name is Matt White, and Matt's mom, Liz, actually remembers when she would go into the office, Dr. Klein would be the only one there. She didn't really see the receptionist. She didn't see the colleague that, he gets brought up a few times in this documentary. She only ever saw him. And so, he'd lead her to the room, and then obviously he would go to his office, he would jack off, and then he'd come back and inseminate her. And she states, and I feel so bad, she states, I was raped 15 times and I never even knew it.
Right.
Because she was, like, because the thing is that he's going into the office, he's jerking off, and he's still coming down from that endocrine high. He's still having all of these, sexual feelings, and whether it be towards her or not, that's still so gross.
Right.
After they find out about Matt, Jacoba starts pushing more and more about, being able to use Klein's name and about getting DNA tests, just trying to push him to admittance, like just getting any answers out of him. And he keeps saying, no, I'm not going to do any of that. And he tells her that this would hurt his marriage of 57 years if this got out.
Too fucking bad. You shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, boo-hoo, bitch. Like, you should have thought about that some odd years ago, 30 plus years ago before you were doing it.
Right. You hurt your marriage.
Yeah, you did this.
Right.
The only person to blame.
And he does not care what he's doing to these people that are, technically his children. He doesn't care what he's putting them through and, what they're finding out. And, knowing that their parents were scammed or, betrayed 100%.
Yes.
I guess it would be the better word, betrayed. And they're trying to deal with that. And he's just like, oh, my marriage.
Oh, my family and my church.
Right.
Like, cry a fucking river, bitch.
What kills me, though, is at this point, his adult children know. They're not telling their mom, because I know 100%. If it was you, you'd be like, you would have walked out of wherever you had met and called me.
Oh, yeah. I would have been like, I would be running to tell you. I'd be like, I gotta go. I'll see y'all later. Dr. Klein starts asking Jacoba for her help, asking her to basically get Angela off of his back. And he's saying that, he just doesn't want to answer these questions. He feels like he's being forced to do any of this. And it's like, well, guess who you forced to do some of your shitty work?
Right. And again, this goes back to, these people deserve answers.
Yeah. When he's asking for help, Jacoba tells him, she's not going to keep her life a secret, which she shouldn't have to.
No.
She's not going to keep her life a secret. And she doesn't feel like she's doing anything wrong, which she isn't. She has every right to do this because her whole life is a lie.
Right.
And he says to her, well, I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong. Well, that fucking sucks that you didn't feel that way. But what you did was wrong.
Right. I just don't understand how, doctors are semi-intelligent, and, he excelled in his field. He took the Hippocratic Oath, which is do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how he can honestly sleep at night thinking that he did nothing wrong. I don't believe that. I think he's just saying that to get them off his back.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that you could do that and think that it was okay.
Exactly. Like, you have to have some sort of guilt about it. But at the same time, I don't think he does, because in his eyes, he gave all these mothers what they wanted, and that was a child.
Right. But so could the sperm donors.
Yes.
That's the thing. That's where I'm like, he had to have known. He has to admit that it was wrong, because there were other avenues that weren't him.
Oh, yeah. But I think in his mind, that's what it is.
Right.
Well, I gave you what you wanted. It's very manipulative. Like, the whole thing about it is super manipulative. Jacoba ends up asking him why she's being blamed for this. And he tells her, one, that he'll be hurt badly. Oh, cry about it. I don't give a shit.
I know.
You deserve to be hurt badly. And two, he says, well, I don't care who you tell, but you don't need to tell the whole world.
I don't care who you tell, just not the news. Like,
yeah, you can tell everybody, down the street and wherever you go, but just don't make it that public. Don't let millions of people see it.
Right.
And then they released a Netflix documentary, which I think is fucking hilarious.
Because the thing is if he had just been honest and given them the answers that they wanted, it probably would have stayed a small town story.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably never would have heard about it, because Netflix wouldn't have gotten involved. But because he gets so convoluted about it and refuses to give answers, and Jacoba has to fight so hard that it becomes a battle for her that she's intent on winning.
Yep.
And I think, he really is the reason that we have the Netflix documentary, is because he would not just give her the fucking answers she needed.
Yep.
Or wanted, both.
Yeah, he wouldn't answer any questions to anybody. And you're right. All he had to do was just confirm it.
Right.
And that could have been it. At this point, we see sibling number 22, Heather Wook.
We're definitely past 15.
She gets the DNA test from her husband. She takes it, and she sees all of the results of all of the other 21 people that she's related to.
And not just related to, she's their half sibling.
Yeah, half sibling. And so Jacoba reaches out to her. I guess there's like a way that you can message on there. And she reached out and she said, whenever you feel comfortable, you can message me. Now we reach sibling number 33, which is Lisa Shepard Stidham. And she gets a DNA test from her husband as well. She takes it, and when she pops up, Julie actually sees her, pop up with the half siblings, and Julie thinks, well, I know her. Our kids play sports together. Our kids go to school together. And so she reaches out to Lisa and she says, do you know about this Klein case?
And it's crazy that, it was a smallish area. I mean, there were some people that traveled from a great distance to see Dr. Klein.
Yeah.
I hate even calling him Dr. Klein. I think I'm just going to call him Don.
Don.
He doesn't deserve to be called Dr. Klein.
No.
But there were a lot of people that traveled from a ways away, but there were a lot of local people. And, now the gene pool, and the reason that there's not supposed to be more than 3 children per donor is because of not all people know that they were donor conceived.
Exactly.
And so you run the risk of siblings meeting and not knowing that they're siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been studies that have shown that a lot of them will have an instant connection. Children that were separated at birth or, later, even just at very young ages, it doesn't even have to be at birth, but at very young ages that were separated, um, don't they obviously don't know who the other one is, but they have this instant connection. And because of the instant connection, their mind misinterprets it
For love.
for a spark,
Yeah.
for electricity,
A
for
crush.
a crush, and
Yeah.
then it turns into love. And there's been a lot of studies and a lot of cases where that has happened, which is crazy to me that that's even a possible thing.
And then you get children of incest.
Right.
Like, and I mean, at this point, it's been told that a majority of these siblings are in a 25-mile radius of each other, and some of them live minutes from Klein's house.
It's crazy to me that, we're 33 kids deep and none of them, thank goodness, are in any sort of relationship with each other, because
That we know of.
that's just a whole other mind fuck for these kids.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, they're not kids anymore, but you know what I mean?
These
Like,
people.
These people.
Lisa ends up calling her mom, and she does confirm that Klein was her fertility specialist. But she also had her husband's sperm sample. So this is yet another mother who is under the impression that this is her and her husband's biological child together. So this is yet another marriage that we're seeing completely broken apart. Because, I mean, other marriages, they knew they were using a fertility doctor and a sperm sample. These marriages, I'm sure it feels like a sham.
Right. And, these poor dads, to them, this is still their kid.
Yeah.
But there's some complicated feelings with knowing that they're not biologically your children after thinking that they were for 35 years.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm sure it was such a hard time on some of these people, on some of these fathers. Because, I mean, no matter what, they raised them and loved them all their lives. But yeah, I'm sure it was probably a mental battle. And that's what Klein doesn't even realize is that, and I'm sure he does realize,
It's
he
what
just
he
doesn't
doesn't
care.
care.
Yeah, that he has such a powerful domino effect on all of these people and just doesn't give a shit. Since this is such a small community, each of the Klein siblings, as they refer to themselves as, they know at least one or more people, personally, that also know Dr. Klein. So it's like he has such a deep-rooted connection that everyone knows him. Every single person.
And so many of them think that he's a stand-up guy. And,
he's excellent.
And a dignified doctor.
And a good churchman.
Yeah.
Like an elder in the church. Highly respected.
Right.
Throughout contact with Klein, Angela had received emails from him, one stating actually to be careful. And, even after that, eventually he did agree to meet with her. But when they met up in a public place because, she was concerned for her safety. But when they met up, he had his gun holstered to his hip. So in her mind, she makes the connection of the be careful email, and she's thinking, oh my God, is he going to just shoot me if he doesn't like something I say?
Right.
Like, an immediate concern for her safety is awful.
Well, especially because, her story is going to break wide open what he did.
Yep.
And I can understand how that would be scary for her as the reporter, thinking, is he going to try and stop me from publishing this?
Yeah.
By any means possible.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrifying.
Right.
When they meet, he initially tells her, I know where you live and I know where you're from. So either telling her I stalked you, or he found out information about her in a very sketchy way.
It's just another, manipulative tactic to try and make someone feel little and that the power is with him and not with her.
Yeah. He just repeats the same narrative to her that he told Jacoba about how, this will ruin my marriage and this will hurt me badly. Just the same woe is me bullshit. Like, cry some more. You're crying to the wrong people.
Right.
following the interview with Angela, there was actually a few separate occasions where some of the siblings dealt with, I mean, basically harassment. Um, there was Jacoba, who had woken up one morning and all of the lug nuts had been taken off of her tires. There was Julie, who she had her accounts hacked, meaning her Google Drive, anything that had any sort of information that it was about Klein, it was all deleted. He or someone that he knew got in there and deleted everything that they had gathered.
I highly doubt it was him.
Yeah.
His age group isn't really the hacker age group.
Yeah.
And, and even with Jacoba's lug nuts, I don't think it was him. I think because there were so many people that didn't give a shit about what he did 35, 40 years ago. And, I honestly think it was other church people because I feel
Probably.
like they were more likely to forgive him and think he's a good person and so they're going to try and intimidate these people.
Yeah. Of, you women are harassing a perfectly good man.
Yes, exactly.
And even Heather, she had gotten a call from the local cemetery asking her if she wanted to buy a plot to be buried in. Like, he had these local connections of people that were willing to help him harass these women. Because there's no way that he didn't know that these people were doing it.
Oh, no. He did. He asked them to do it.
Yeah.
100%. Allegedly.
Supposedly. We've now reached the point of sibling 48, Jason Hyatt.
We're almost at half of 100.
Half of 100. Yep. That's insane.
Yeah.
And that's
there weren't supposed to be more than 7.
Yeah. There weren't supposed to be more than 15.
It was 7 was the first number you threw out, right?
10.
10.
And then 15. And then from here, he hasn't really thrown out any more numbers because I think he's afraid to throw out more numbers.
It's kind of like watching someone like kind of unravel that has murdered someone 40 years ago. And now they know that the police are getting closer.
Yep.
It's got to be like that where you are seeing technology advance and you have to know it's only a matter of time before people start contacting you.
Yeah. I'm sure that, once it was put out into the public that, you could do at home DNA testing, I'm sure he was always looking over his shoulder.
So at that point, he had to have been scared shitless.
Yeah.
Especially because he knows the real number. Well, maybe not in some way that just like some serial killers don't know the real number.
Lose count.
Yeah, he may have as well, but I have a feeling he knows.
So with Jason, this was another case where he, much like Jacoba, realized that he looked different from all of his family members. So a majority of these siblings had blue eyes and blonde hair and, like fair complexions. They all looked just like each other and completely different from all their families. So that's why Jason ended up taking a DNA test as well, of course, to match to the other now 47 siblings.
And I have to wonder too, like, was he specifically doing this to families that didn't look like him? Because I feel like so many of these people are saying that they always questioned their heritage because they didn't look like the rest of their family.
Yeah.
So, and there have been other people that used him and their child is their child.
Yeah.
Biologically. So I have to wonder, like, was he really just trying to be a horrible person and be like, ha ha ha, I'm going to, put my sperm in there and get this blonde baby to these dark haired people. Ha ha ha.
I mean, there was a point where all of them started to wonder, was he trying to, create the perfect race, the perfect people? Because if you put up they had a whole board of all of them as babies, and those are all white babies.
I was going to say, I do notice that none of these people are of any other descent other than
white.
Yeah, being Caucasian.
Yeah. Eventually, Jacoba starts doing research on any emails that she is getting back from the Attorney General's office, which usually isn't much of a response. It's just kind of some automated message. But there are people that are CC'd onto these emails. And one of them actually has a quiverful email, which, going further into research, she finds out that it's kind of like a almost a cultish thing, where it's to keep her quiver full, to basically just breed women. It's about breeding women, it's about making children, about populating the earth. And a lot of the people in like the videos that are preaching to be quiverful, they are people just like them. They're blonde haired and blue eyed people. Not that they're related to them, but they look the same. So it again brings up the question of, are they trying to create the perfect race of people? The perfect race.
Right. And it wouldn't be the first time in history that it was thought to be that only fair-skinned, blue-eyed, blonde-haired people were, the perfect specimen.
Yeah.
It's not an original thought. And that's what annoys me. Like, be original. Be like, you know what? We need to make an army of redheads.
Yes.
Like,
Like,
come
you would
on.
have a much better success rate. Like, those people are feisty.
Right.
We're introduced to Tim Delaney, which he is the prosecutor of the Klein case. And the news that he delivers to all of these people is that essentially there's no crime that they can, convict him of. This isn't like he basically kind of dances around, and not to say that Tim Delaney is a bad guy, but at no point do I really feel like he's really trying to help these people. It kind of is just like well, there's really nothing we can do. There has to be something.
Right. I felt like his whole thing was, well, there's no law against what he did.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's no law against a lot of things until someone makes one, because a case was won based on that.
Exactly.
It takes someone to actually have the balls to go forward and prosecute a case. And this is so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that a jury could sit there and listen to this and think that he's committed zero crimes.
Exactly. Put him in front of a jury and tell me what they say. For
Right.
the love of God.
I mean, it used to be that, if someone said that in a therapy session that they were going to kill someone, that, you had the therapist patient confidentiality, and they weren't allowed to tell anyone that.
Yeah.
And then someone was murdered because, the parents of this girl fought their asses off and got the Tarasoff law or rule passed so that, it would be mandated to have to tell law enforcement as a therapist or a lawyer even that you have to break confidentiality for some things.
Yeah.
And it takes someone actually pushing that. Not everything that's a law now was a law 50 years ago, even 10 years ago.
Exactly.
If he had taken this before a jury, there's something they could have found him guilty of.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think 12 people could sit there and just hear everything that's within this documentary and just be like,
Right.
Like, there's no way in hell. So we get introduced to Jodi Madeira, which she is a law professor. And she actually states that in the Indiana law that there is a case where rape can include a conduct of which the victim does not know is sexual, but the perpetrator does. Which this kind of brings it back to, regardless if he was thinking of the patient sexually, he was still coming down from the endocrine high.
Right.
He was still in a sexually aroused state.
But he also, upon the arrival of this patient, was jerking off in another room.
Yeah.
That in itself is a sexual, whether it's a kink or, but there is a sexual component to this.
Exactly.
Even if he is not aroused by that particular patient, what he's doing requires ejaculation. There has to be some sort of arousal.
Yep.
And it doesn't sound like it takes him very long, because no one's talking about having to sit in the other room for 30 minutes.
I know. They're like, doctor came back within 30 seconds.
So he's really fucking into this.
Yeah. Jodi actually ended up interviewing Tim Delaney, and he told her that he didn't believe, which this is such bullshit to me, that he didn't believe that a jury would buy that this was rape by deception, even though that's exactly what this was.
Yeah, I mean, when you're prosecuting something, you and the defending attorney pick out your jury.
Yeah,
So pick out at least 6 women, because women know that this is fucking rape.
exactly. And he said that, the jury would basically agree to the fact that, all of these women consented to being inseminated. Okay, not by their doctor.
Right.
That's a completely different ball game we're talking about. They agreed to be inseminated by a medical student sperm donor,
Right.
not by their doctor.
Well, and I feel like at the very least, he could prosecute the ones that thought they were being inseminated by their own husband's
Yes,
specimen.
exactly. Because that
is not a donor.
no.
So I feel like at the very least, he could have prosecuted those.
Yes.
He chose not to.
Yeah.
And like you said, I don't think he's necessarily a bad person. I just think it's hard for a man to understand the complexity and the devastation of what was done.
Exactly. Because, I mean, regardless of if these women got babies or not, aside from the ones who thought they were using their husband's sample, these women still feel, a lot of them feel as though they were raped. And I feel as though they were too.
Right.
And, they have every right to feel like that. And, they're very thankful for their children. But this is such a sense of betrayal. A lot of the mothers of the Klein siblings actually were, privately interviewed, and they were each asked, would you have said yes to insemination if you knew that it was coming from Donald Klein? And a majority, if not all of them, said no. No, they would not be comfortable with that. No, they would not have said yes.
Right. I mean, the doctor-patient relationship is already an intimate relationship, but now when you're adding on the OBGYN aspect of being a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
it's even more personal.
Yeah.
And like I said, even in the practice that I work at, if their doctor is unavailable, people will wait weeks because they don't want to see someone they don't know.
Yes, they want to see who they're comfortable with.
Right. And once you've established that relationship, the last thing you want is to turn around and find out they're the fucking biological father of your child.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of crimes against women, especially older crimes, are just not taken seriously.
Yeah.
And that, and I really feel like that's part of the problem here is one, it happened so long ago and things were different back then. You could rape your spouse and it was legal.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, I think a man would just not ever get it.
No, I don't think, like, it is so hard to understand because, like, it's not just like it's not a straight line for women. It is a multitude of complexities when it comes to your emotions, to your mental state, to your body. Like, there is a visceral reaction that women get over, feeling like their body has been disgraced in some sort of way. And I'm sure that that's how a lot of these women felt. They probably felt like disgusting, like they needed to take a shower and rinse it all off. But how can you rinse something like that off?
Right. And especially to look back and know that you've had this child that you love, that you've raised, that's an adult now.
Yeah.
That you've spent the last 30 to 40 years thinking something completely different about this child.
Yep.
You have the complexity of the emotion behind loving your child, but being so upset and angry about what was done to you without your permission and your knowledge.
Exactly. I'm not sure who reached out to who first in this exchange, but Klein did end up telling Angela that to the Attorney General's office, he declined and actually signed off the denial of any of these people being his biological children, which this then gave the Attorney General's office the opportunity to go and take a cheek swab from him. So when they get there, he's like, "Oh, don't get too close. I'm sick." Of course you are.
Right.
And, they're like, "It's fine. We're just here to take a cheek swab and then that's it." And he was super unhappy the whole time, obviously, because his secret's about to fucking come out.
Well, and that's the thing, though, is if he didn't think he had done anything wrong,
He
why
would've
is
just
he
done
lying
it.
about it?
Yes, he would have just done it.
Well, he wouldn't have just done it, but he would have, but it would have also been, he would have said right to the attorney general, yeah,
Yeah, these people are my children.
yeah, I was a sperm donor, so what?
Yeah.
But he knew it was wrong, and that's why he lied.
Yep. After they took the cheek sample, obviously it came back that he was 99.9% the father of all of these people. Shocker. And so it was only from that the court was able to convict him of, it was 2 counts of obstruction of justice. And it's like,
Why even bother?
that's it? Like, that's it? Really? During the court trial, Jacoba was actually allowed to give a victim impact statement, because she was the one to bring this to the court, and because she was the one putting in the most work for it. And while she's giving the statement, she starts talking about, the way that she feels, about how others feel, and, her attorney even, they went through and they would strike out anything that they thought possibly would get turned down. And then all of the stuff that they kept, his lawyer, she was objecting all of it. Like, not all of it, but most of it. And they were just shocked at how many things she was objecting. Because of all the objections, the judge actually had to remind Jacoba on 6 different occasions that this was not Klein versus them. It was Klein versus the state because of his obstruction of justice.
I just don't understand why they even bothered to let her do a victim impact statement.
I know.
If they weren't going to let her give a statement.
Like, she brought this to you, and you know why she brought this to you. So if you're not even going to convict him because of that, don't even waste her time.
Well, my point is, if you're not even going to let her read it,
Yes.
then why? Like, if you're not going to let her read it and talk about how he has affected her life, then why even tell her she can read one?
I know. Like, you just wasted everyone's time.
Yeah.
At the end of the trial, Jacoba feels throughout all of this that the judge is very sympathetic towards Klein. And I know, and she's even like she seems a little weepy. And at some point she also says, like, no matter what happens here today, just know that the people who love you are going to love you. And like looks at him about it. Because of a lack of resources, and there was overcrowding at the jail, and because he had no past criminal record, they did not give him any jail time. They did sentence him to a level 6 felony twice, and they gave him a $500 fine.
Ooh.
But
which just goes to show that it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. There are lots of people without any sort of empathy for other people, and it's even more betraying to me that she is a female judge.
Yes, and that his attorney is also a female.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a room full of women, and there are just 2 women that are completely out of the idea of what the fuck is going on to all of these other women, and men that he's affected, but like, they're mothers.
Some people are just so blind to the rules of the patriarchy in this society that they really think because they're somewhere in life, she's a judge, she's a lawyer, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not important. It doesn't apply to them.
From when Jacoba first filed the complaint to the Attorney General's office to him being convicted as a felon, it was a 2-year span. And she just, during those 2 years, she never gave up. She was emailing them relentlessly. She was calling them. But it is just so sad that it was basically 2 years of wasted effort for nobody to give a shit.
But in the end, I hope Jacoba knows that it wasn't wasted, because now
Yeah.
people like us know who the fuck he is.
Yeah. We now reach sibling 53, Carrie Foster. And Carrie actually speaks about how she also shares a lot of these same medical issues. She does, in the documentary, she has brown hair, but I don't know if that's natural. But, you know, she's got the darker hair, but a lot of her, you know, she's got the autoimmune disorders, she's got digestive issues, she has colon issues, and that's what a lot of them share as well. So it's like, you know, thinking back to when he said that there is nothing to worry about, all of these people have so many issues. One of the siblings, Heather, actually speaks about how she has a blood clotting disorder as well, which she doesn't state exactly which one, but that's scary.
Right.
Like you've had blood clotting before.
Yeah, mine is not hereditary. Well, they've told me mine's not hereditary, despite the fact that my father had one and his grandmother had one. Then I've had other doctors tell me it is hereditary. I feel like you just never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Klein was actually claimed to have rheumatoid arthritis in the 70s, which started, you know, making his hands swollen and they were hurting, so it was making operations difficult. So there was a call made up to the hospital's pharmacist, and so he was given, you know, some sort of concoction of pills, which God knows how that affected him.
Right.
And after that, the arthritis basically went away and he was able to do procedures as normal, which doesn't just usually happen like that.
Right. Yeah. I really question that because you can't just take pills once or twice and then your rheumatoid arthritis goes away.
A lot of potential donors actually were declined because of their medical history, which even included men being declined because they were colorblind. So by that means, Donald Klein was in no way, shape, or form qualified to be a donor. So I mean, with that, it's like he knows he has, and that's another thing that kills me is that he just told all these people that they have nothing to worry about.
Right.
And it's like, if you're not going to admit that you're their dad straight to their face, you can at least tell them what's wrong with them.
Right.
What they're going to carry on for generations to generations.
I feel like all donors were turned away.
Yeah, probably.
Which, like I said, I know is not true because there are some people that have said that their parents also used that facility and that they are not Donald Klein's child.
Mm-hmm. We now reach sibling 61, Allison Kramer. And so she ended up getting a DNA test, I assume, as a gift. She gets the DNA test because her and her children have a genetic disorder. So she kind of wants to take a look deeper as to what this may be. And after getting her results in, she sees all of these people pop up. But at first, she's not thinking too much of it because that's not what she's looking for through this. She's looking for what could genetically be wrong with her and her children. Mm-hmm. And so she gets a message from Jacoba, who is saying, I know you might be confused. Please reach out at any point. And then she kind of just, you know, puts it away for a little bit because, again, that the family part of it meant nothing to her. She wasn't looking for that. And then she's watching TV and she's watching Dr. Phil, and all of the Klein children come out onto the stage. And she sees Jacoba. And, you know, Dr. Phil obviously talks directly to Jacoba because she started all of this.
She's kind of the spokesperson for the Klein kids now.
And she is like, I remember Jacoba and all of these people that look like her. So she goes and gets back onto the website and she's looking at her results and she's reading through all of the names. And it is every person on this show is on this list. And she is like, oh my God. After Allison was born, Klein actually went and visited their family a lot. And there was actually photos of him in their family album of him holding Allison as a baby. And it turns out that he's gone to visit them a bunch because Allison is a twin. And as far as we're aware, this is his first set of twins out of all of these mothers. So of course he's invested in seeing them, because this is, you know, this is all a part of his experiment, but this is the only time it's ever doubled. So I'm sure for him it's this exciting thing of, oh my gosh, this is what I created.
Right.
And so, you know, he's involved in their family.
So weird.
And it's so weird. Lisa admits that Klein was actually her main GYN. So he was doing her pap smears, he was doing her breast exams, and, you know, that's just like, oh, it like gives me the shivers, because
Yeah.
it's like, this is your biological father, which obviously she didn't know at that time,
Right.
but he knew.
Which leads me to believe that, you know, even further, that he does not look at these people as his offspring.
No, he doesn't.
They're an experiment. They're not anything he gives a shit about, other than out of curiosity and what he can accomplish.
At the end, the documentary actually states that in 2018, the mothers and the siblings actually successfully passed a law in Indiana making illicit inseminations illegal. But that was only in Indiana. There's no federal law against it. Like,
This is what I'm saying, though, how much, you know, as a country we fail women.
yes.
That we leave things like this up to the state.
That
This should be
not.
federal law.
Yes. Like, that should not be a state by state. Like, if I go to Minnesota, that's allowed to happen to me.
Right.
Through DNA testing, besides Klein, 44 additional doctors have been found doing this same type of malpractice.
And what's crazy to me is, you know, you think this is so insane, it's got to be a one-off thing.
Nope.
And to find out that now we know of at least 45, including Klein.
Yep.
How is this such a common fucking thing?
I know.
How are there so many men, because it's only male doctors that can do this,
Yep.
that are out there switching, you know, their sperm with donor samples to impregnate their patients? I don't understand how there's that many sickos. I mean, I do, but I don't, you know, like,
yes. At the release of the production of Our Father, it was actually shown that there have been 94 Klein siblings found because of DNA testing. Unfortunately, there is no further update on what that count may be, but I have a feeling 94, that was not it. I think it's probably more than that.
especially because it came out in 2022, and I feel like in the last couple of years, DNA kits have been a really popular gift.
Yeah.
I got one for you. I got one for my mom. You know, and James got one for me. So
And you got one for James.
right.
Like,
So it's because it is a neat little curiosity thing. Even if you aren't looking for a biological parent or sibling, it's interesting. So there's going to be people that don't, and I'm sure there already are and have been people that don't even know
mm-hmm.
that they are not the biological child of whatever man raised them. There are going to be people that have never been told anything about their mother's struggle with fertility.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, though, that the number, like you said, it's been 3 years, and with as popular, and not just popular, but they've also come down in price now, where you can get kits for like $40.
Yeah.
I think there's got to be a lot more. I wish that she had answered you.
I know, because I did reach out to Jacoba, but unfortunately I just never heard anything back. But it would be so interesting to know as to, you know, how many more of them they've found. And it is nice because, you know, out of all of it, they did find people to connect with. You know, Jacoba didn't get exactly what she was looking for, but she still has all of these siblings now, and they have these family reunions every year. And I think, although it's such a shitty situation, I think that is such a good silver lining, to have a community through it, to have people knowing what you're going through.
Right.
because no one can connect on a deeper level than each other.
Right. So, one interesting thing about this documentary is Netflix actually showed on screen results. I believe Jacoba was talking in the background, but they showed results of two women who had not agreed to be outed with their names made public. And so they actually ended up suing Netflix.
Oh.
Well, thanks for joining us. This was Our Father, which you can watch on Netflix.
So that's going to be it for this episode. And we thank you all so much for joining us, for supporting us, liking and commenting, all the little things that you do. We hope all of you have a good night, and we will see you on the other side.